what the heck is imposter phenomenon anyway? My name is Jennifer Hernandez. If you've never met me, I'm a registered dietitian and a recovering imposter. So if you haven't seen any of my videos, you haven't heard any of my story, I'm a PhD student in curriculum and instruction. I am nearing the end of my program, so yay for that. And in my research, I was actually trying to research dietetics education and look for ways to improve dietetics education. It's a very disjointed system, and things that I was trying to do just kind of fell apart. And I told my students that they were going to work with real dietitians. Now, I've been a dietitian for 22 years, so a couple of years ago when I was having these conversations, I've been a dietitian for 2 decades, and I still told my students they were going to work with real dietitians. I was walking down the hallway, and one of my colleagues, who had also been a dietitian for quite some time, was saying the same thing. She was talking about real dietitians as if she wasn't a real dietitian. And I was relaying that conversation to another colleague, and she's like, you know, that's a real thing, and it has a name. It's imposter phenomenon. And so she turned me on to imposter phenomenon. And imposter phenomenon is the feeling that you're a fake, you're a fraud. Maybe you don't feel like you deserve these successes or achievements that you've gotten. That it was luck or chance or, you know, just who you knew, not what you knew. And I'm here to tell you, friend, that first of all, if you're feeling these things, you are not alone. And secondly, it's a big lie. Okay, you are good enough and you deserve to be where you are. So what types of people get or, you know, suffer from imposter phenomenon? Well, initially it was identified in high achieving women. So typically it was seen, or initially identified anyway, in PhD students, in women in higher education, and women who just, you know, really had made it far through the educational system. So that's where the early research started. And the researcher who was looking at imposter phenomenon, she's a psychotherapist, and she identified 2 major childhood experiences in her small sample of people with imposter phenomenon. And one of those is the person who as a child was a really good student, right? They did well, they earned good grades, and then that expectation for good grades followed them. Right? So maybe early in elementary school, things aren't always that hard. For some people, I know certain things can be challenging, but for other people, things are really easy early on, right? And so they get good grades, and then all of a sudden, mom and dad expect those good grades. And it might not even be that external expectation. I mean, my parents definitely expected good grades from me, but I almost think that mine was more of an internal pressure. It wasn't that my parents would really have been mad at me if I didn't get good grades, but I felt like they would, right? I had that internal pressure to achieve, to get good grades, to do really well. And we'll come back to this in a minute and talk about some of the adverse effects of that, right? Okay, so the first type of person that was identified with imposter phenomenon was that person who always did well, and they had that expectation that they had to continue to be highly achieving. The second childhood experience that was identified was the person who wasn't as good as a sibling, right? So they had a sibling who was smarter. They had a sibling who was a better athlete. They had a sibling who could never do wrong, right? They were always praised and always achieving, and they could never live up to their sibling. And so that childhood experience was also very common in people with imposter phenomenon. Now that wasn't my experience, so I don't have, you know, personal stories of how that impacted life. Mine was definitely the internal expectation of perfection. And so perfectionism, it has a whole lot of negative effects to it. First of all, it's just the extra hard work. And, you know, sometimes that extra hard work is a good thing, but again, when it's like obsessive, then it can be a bad thing. I made it through all of my required classes for my PhD and got A's in all of my classes. And I took an extra class because I thought that the information in the class was going to be really useful to me. It was going to be very good knowledge to have, especially for this study that I'm doing on imposter phenomenon. And the class was so much work, and the majority of the grades came from multiple choice quizzes and exams. And that class stressed me out so badly. We were able to take the quizzes as many times as we wanted to get whatever score we wanted to get. And I could barely ever get above a 90 on any exam. So I obsessively took the quizzes as many times as I had to get 100% on the quiz so that my grade could be as high as it possibly could. Because I was afraid that some test I was going to bomb, and I really didn't want to ruin my 4.0 in my last class that has a letter grade. Everything from here on out is dissertation credits, and that's all pass fail. And I did not want to tarnish my 4.0 GPA in this one last class that was an elective. I know that's really dumb. But that just goes to show you that, like, I am still working on my perfectionism, okay? So like I said, you are not alone if you are dealing with this right now. When I was a kid, I had some essay. I literally don't even remember what the essay was about. I just remember being so stressed out in elementary school about writing an essay that I procrastinated it until the last night. And then my dad had to help me with it because I was so stressed. And that was my perfectionism coming out. Now, along with that perfectionism, people with imposter phenomenon tend to have anxiety, right? Because they're worried about being perfect. They're worried about people finding out that they're a fraud, that they don't deserve to be there. And a lot of people with imposter phenomenon also suffer from depression. So there's a lot of negative and adverse effects. People with imposter phenomenon tend to compare themselves to others. And that is so dangerous in today's day and age, because we're not comparing ourselves to a true picture of someone else. When I think about my colleague who also called herself not a real dietitian, we are almost exactly the same age, right? And she got her PhD years before me, because mine's not even done yet, and has been in higher ed for years and has reached full professor status, right? She is tenured and has full professor status. And here I am still trying to finish up my PhD. So is it a fair comparison for me to compare my life to hers? We're the same age, and she has seemingly accomplished more. However, the path that I took, the road that I went down, has given me these unique experiences. And my life and work experiences enrich my teaching, right? So when I'm in the classroom, I tell stories of things that I have experienced and dealt with as a professional. And I might not have had those same stories had I gone through and gotten my PhD much closer to finishing my undergrad and master's degree, right? I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And so those comparisons to other people can be especially dangerous when we're looking at social media. People only post the good on social media, right? I mean, there is the extreme of, you know, the terrible. I was going to put my hair down. I went outside for 2 minutes, and it is summer in Phoenix. So I am burning up right now, and I opted to leave my hair up. Not my preference when I make videos, but I'm hot, so I left my hair up, right? But usually people have got their hair all perfect, makeup perfect, you know, and we put that picture forward that we want people to see, and that's maybe not reality. And that is why comparisons can be so dangerous. All right, so if you have heard me talk about imposter phenomenon and you think, well, maybe this is, maybe there's a name for my feelings. This is what I'm dealing with. Yeah, you're probably right. There is a name for it. In the description, I will put a link to the Clance Imposter Phenomenon Scale that was developed by the psychotherapist that I was talking about earlier, who did the early research on it. Now, she did psychotherapy with people with imposter phenomenon. And, if you need psychotherapy, I think that is great. Go to a counselor, go to a psychotherapist, get some help. I also feel like there is a broad population that has lower levels of imposter phenomenon that maybe don't need that full scale psychotherapy, right? And there are some things that we can do to help decrease those feelings of imposter phenomenon. And I'm going to talk about that in detail in a webinar that I'm going to give on Sunday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is Arizona time, same as Pacific Daylight Time. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And I would love to have you join me. I would love to have you share that webinar link with anyone that you think could benefit from it. And I would love to work with you on a journey to increasing self-confidence and decreasing imposter phenomenon if this is something that you, like me, are struggling with. So thank you so much for tuning into my video today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you did, please like the video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and share with anyone that you think can benefit from it. So thank you and have a fantastic day.
Okay, we're done.
Okay,
Oh, that looks much better.
well, I'm actually live. You're literally on my live stream. Bye, sweetheart.